We now humbly request the Honorable Governor to address the gathering.
Thiru A.V. Dharm Krishnan, Thiru P. Senthil Kumar, the author of the book, Dr. S. Rajeshwari, Dr. J.R. Sivaram Krishnan, all the dignitaries whom I had the privilege to felicitate today, other distinguished invitees present here, friends from the media, Anaivarkum Vanakkam. In fact, my association with this book, it happened to be to me it appeared it was a coincidence. About 2 years back, when I visited Madurai, this book landed in my hand. And when I read this book, I was so much impressed that when I decided that we should dig up the history of our unsung freedom fighters, because when I came in 2021 and I asked the state government to give me the list of freedom fighters from the state of Tamil Nadu, the list I got was hardly just about nearly 30 names. And I was surprised, how could it only be 30? The country, for any part, the place before that I was in Nagaland, there were hundreds and hundreds of freedom fighters in Nagaland. In fact, not hundreds, but thousands. How could in Tamil Nadu only be around 30 or not? So I was not convinced. So I asked the university to dig up unsung freedom fighters, prepare the list, and to begin an exercise of pick up at least 100 unsung freedom fighters and let us write their history, what they did, to begin with. When I had asked that, in between this book landed in my hand. And I was so impressed that I showed this book to all the researchers that this is how research should be. How meticulous, how diligently, how factual, going into the records, taking the diaries, documents. Nothing in this book is conjectural or imaginary. Everything is based on document. I was deeply impressed. So you showed this book to my research scholars, 100 research scholars, that this is how the research should be. I was under the impression that Senthil Kumar must be a professor, a historian, a person who has done a lot of work. I was under also impression that this book is already known to people in the universities and all. So while sought for him, I say, where is Senthil Kumar? I would like to meet him. I met him and I found a very simple person like any of us. He is not a professor. He is not a historian. But commitment, the commitment and hard work. I say, look, this book deserves to be considered for a PhD thesis. Senthil, I'm saying I have read hundreds of PhD theses here, I tell you. Many of them are very mediocre, very, very substandard. Here is a book that deserves to be appreciated. And the author has to be appreciated. And then he told me, no, he has not published the book as yet. And He is thinking of publishing it. I said, look, you let her please do it. And not only in English, his original one was in English. It should be in Tamil. And let the people of the country, North, also know what it is. So it should be in Hindi also. So he gave me more copy. I sent the book to the Lucknow University Vice Chancellor and got it Hindi done. Tamil he managed, he got it Tamil translation done. And the book is almost about 600 pages, a little less than 600 pages, voluminous book, but all full of facts. It's a remarkable work which should be an envy of many research scholars, professional research scholars. I wish they do this kind of work. So, Senthil Kumar, I like to thank you. Thank you for this. I express my sense of gratitude that you have done this work. A great work. Friends, why do we read history? And how this book is important? This book is important because it gives us the sense who we are. Who we are, it is linked with how our ancestors were. If our ancestors were weak, our ancestors were, not brave, it gives a sense of inferiority. What the British did, which is briefly mentioned by Thiru Dharmkrishnan, that how they decided to change the education system and kill the sense of self-pride of Indians. Kill the sense of self-pride of Indians. And long before Macaulay came, they had commissioned one person, one pastor, James Mill. Those of you who have studied political science, you must have read and heard about John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill is considered a political thought leader, political theorist. James Mill was his father. He was asked to write a history of India. And this man did not visit India. But 1801, by the time the Battle of Panchalan-Kuruchi was over, and the first decade of 19th century, 1801 to 1810, during that time, he wrote 5 volumes of history of India. He wrote a history of India without visiting India. And in which all through the book he has said, Indians are cowards. Indians are worthy to be slave. Indians are impotent. These are the languages, these are the words he has used about Indians. Deliberately. This man was not a historian at all, he was a pastor. He was doing sermon in the church. But he wrote the book on the history of India. And that too 5 volumes, not 1 volume. 5 volumes, history of India. And that book subsequently was brought in India when the British education system started, and they introduced that book as a reference book, History of India. And we started reading that history of India. Indians are cowards, Indians are worthy to be slave. And this book, that history became the reference book for all the British civil servants of the company, and later when the British government took over, British government. Because when they started ICS, Imperial Civil Service, British used to recruit and send India to administer. For them, this was introduction book. They were the book they should, through that they knew India before coming to India. There was a test before they had to pass a test there, and in that they had this book was the reference. So, entire atmosphere was created where British civil servant coming to India, they were told that Indians are cowards, Indians are worthy to be slaved, not enterprising, very weak. And Indians in our own colleges and schools, run by them, we were taught the same history. This is how India, everything about India is bad. And everything about British, European is good. So they tried to kill our sense of pride, who we are. And they succeeded. They succeeded to a great extent. Because over the generations, people have started believing in that. Because only when you read those books, you pass and you get the degree. When you get the degree, you get a job. Because everybody looking for a job, they had killed our industry, they had killed our education system, our industry, everything. And even our agriculture was badly damaged. So our people were made dependent on working as a servant for the company, East India Company, and then for the British government. And to get the job, you have to have the degree. To get the degree, you have to pass, you have to read these books. So this indoctrination. And even today we are not free from this. Even in this land today, here in our state, there are people who praise the British so much. You know, I don't know how many of you are aware, because when as a chancellor, as a governor, I am chancellor of my state universities. So I'll ask for the syllabus, college, history, political science, and literature. In 3 subjects, I wanted to know what is the syllabus in BA and MA, graduation and post-graduation. And you know, even today in our universities, our colleges, 19th century history of this place, Tamil Nadu, is full of British praise of the British, even today. No mention of Kattabomman, no mention of Marudi brothers, no mention of any of these freedom fighters. British, what great job they did. And 20th century, because the 200 years of history, 20th century, all Dravid movement, Dravid leaders. No mention of freedom movement, no mention of all those people who did contributed. So, even today our students are being taught that British were great. That means we deserve to be enslaved, and it was our fault. British did a good thing by colonizing us. I think this is something which is shameful. And when I got the list of just about a small number of freedom fighters, and I was wondering how could it be, and then I found that thousands and thousands of people from this land, they have fought, they have given their life for the freedom of this country. I don't know how many of you are aware, because when I was visiting places in our state, I found a number of places, a number of people, admirer of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Then I found, look, there are not many people who are admirer of Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji. When I started digging more, then I got to know there are large number of people from Tamil Nadu, large number of youth from Tamil Nadu, who had gone from here to Malaysia, Burma, and joined Indian National Army of Netaji and fought against the British. You know, we commissioned a study. How many? Let us identify how many of them. We have already crossed more than 4,700. Our estimate is it will be much more than 6,000, but at least so far, more than 4,700 young people from Tamil Nadu went from here. Many of them, they died fighting the British. Imagine. We all know that in 19th century, British took more than 1 million of our people, more than 10 lakhs of our people, as slaves, indentured laborers, to Malaysia, to Burma, Sri Lanka, Fiji, Mauritius, to work in their field as a laborer. Because it was not a mechanized age. There was no industrial revolution at the time. It was coming up, industrial revolution. So they needed manual labor. So they, by inducement, deceit, or by force, they took more than 10 lakhs of our people as slaves, as indentured labor, to all these colonies to work for them. In 19th century. They did the similar thing for taking from the central India, from Bihar, Jharkhand and Odisha area. They took about more than 500,000 people to Assam to work in their tea garden. They also took them as slaves. There is no history of that. In the textbook that we teach our students, 19th century was a great period. The British came and they gave us a sense of social justice. This is what is being taught today. Now, friends, a nation, a society that forgets its heroes and martyrs, those who gave their life for the freedom of this country, those who gave their life defending the freedom of this country. Both. Katta Bowman gave life defending the freedom. There were others who fought to get the freedom. If we forget, any nation and society that forgets its heroes and martyrs has no future. That society is ungrateful. And an ungrateful society, ungrateful people can never have a great future. We cannot afford to forget great warriors, great martyrs like Veer Pandya Kattabomman. And hundreds of people, those who thousands of people who gave their lives under their command fighting the British. And you read his book. British themselves were afraid. They have recorded how deadly this warrior was. In guerrilla warfare, he was outwitting the British. British could not match. Different types of warfare. In fact, the reason why I said that it should be translated in Hindi also, because many people the sad part of it is the history of our national freedom, the true history of our national freedom is yet to be written. An impression has been given that we got the freedom just by hunger strike or by fasting. No. thousands and thousands of people have given their life and blood for the freedom of this country. Because if it has only got through peaceful means of fasting and demanding, then those who gave their life, and not 1 or 2 lakhs of people, in every part of the country, who were they? Who was Veer Pandya Kattabomman? Who were Maruti brothers? Who were Tirupur Kumaran? Who were all these people? So many of them. Those who gave their life, ultimate sacrifice. No. Our history of our national freedom movement is yet to be written. And this is a fraud that we have committed on our people by not making a genuine effort in writing the true history of independence. And so, I wanted this book to be written in Hindi as well and other Indian languages, so that the rest of the country should also know. This morning, I attended a function. In that function, one of the speakers mentioned that the first war of Indian independence, 1857. I corrected him. I said, I don't blame you because you are not aware of it. Because we have not told our people what wars we fought. I said, look, if at all there is a first war of India's independence, it was Battle of Panchalan Kurichi. The battle that went on for almost 8-9 years. It was not a battle. 1857 it lasted just hardly for about less than 2 years. It was a great war. There's no doubt about it. Many people suffered, perished. We give all respect to all those people, those who fought in 1857. We pay our respect, we bow to them. But the fact is, the first war of India's independence was Battle of Panchalan Kurichi, which concluded in 1801. It was that battle that decided the fate of South India, when the British could consolidate their position and establish themselves. That was the time after Battle of Panchalan Kurichi that they took over the whole area. Even Marathas who were there at Tanjore, they were made to vacate. It was a decisive war. And if our countrymen and women are not aware of this battle, then I think we are not aware of our past, we are not aware of our forefathers. And we are not aware of the fact that we are the descendants of such great people. We need to write our history of national freedom movement more diligently and bring up all those people, those who are now being forgotten. This book, Senthil Kumarji has written based on documents. But I also like to urge, not only him, because of course he has done a great painstaking work, but even to others, that history is not only what the British record shows. When we talk about fables and folk tales and folklores and folk songs, they are equally important part of history. At the time when we were colonized, all the powers were with British. Who will write our history? Who could write? Only they had the power, they could write the way they wanted. So our people, our ancestors, kept alive that history, the memory, through folk songs, through stories, through fables. So let us not undermine the importance and significance of folk tales, folklores, and fables. Because this was our way of preserving the history. It's very much a part of our history. You know, when I was Nagaland governor, and when I had visited one of the villages, because in Nagaland, you know, it is a is a village-centric state. Each village has its own rules, governance, run by the village chief. And I found that a large number of village chiefs were more than 100 years old. Very many, pretty old, very healthy people. So I started felicitating these old people going to their villages and having a function. Look, here is a person now, 50, 60, 40-year person, looks diabetes, all the problems, hypertension. And here is a person 100 years plus, and he is healthy, going to the farm, working. So as to encourage other youngsters, look, this is the way to live. Here is a person among you who has lived more than 100 years and is still living here. So during that course, I visited one village. Ruzazo is the name of the village. When I visited the village headman, the chief was 105 years old. Very strong, working, doing every day, going to the field, farm, doing the work. So after the public function, he took me to his house. I went to his house for a cup of tea. I was sitting in his drawing room. And then I found in a corner a Netaji cutout of Netaji with a garland. I was curious. I asked him, it seems you are a great admirer of Netaji. And that old gentleman was furious with me. He says, you people have forgotten him. We have not. I am chief because I was appointed by Netaji in 1944. And then I stayed in his house for the night, and evening there was a function. And the village ladies, they sang folk songs in praise of Netaji. Folk songs. You know, someone gets into the folk is not easy. It gets into the heart of the community. So I would like a research work to collect all the folk songs, fables about Veer Pandya Kattabomma. We will release the book. We have a great function here as well. Because what the British had written is one part of it. But what our people, our generations have kept the memory alive, that is not less important, it is more important. So let us, I think, Senthil Kumarji, your project is not yet over. So we should, if you think appropriate, you are young and dynamic, you should take up. And if any assistance is needed, I am always there. Collect it. Have the folk tales. All these folk tales and folklores of our freedom fighters, our martyrs, we should collect before they get lost. Because conscious attempts are made to erase them from the public memory. You know, playing with memory is a power game. If you erase the memory, the person becomes helpless. British succeeded in convincing us that we are weak and coward. We are incompetent. British are superior. Because they erased the memory of our great forefathers. Let us revive that. We are not what the British told us who we were, but we are descendants of our great people, our great ancestors. It will be honor to our ancestors, and it will be pride for us. That will give us a sense of pride. And with that pride, not only that we say our thank you and pay our gratitude to our ancestors, those who suffered, those who gave life, but also that will inspire us to face the greater challenges in future. And I'm sure we'll do that. This land, Tamil Nadu, has produced large number of intellectual leaders, warriors, poets, saints, philosophers. It's a land. I don't think any part of the country can boast, can claim to have as many in every field of human endeavor. So great people. It makes me feel very sad when I find some intellectual trying to write a book and thesis, Thiruvalluvar and Shakespeare. Who was Shakespeare? He came 2000 years after Thiruvalluvar. Is it worthy of comparison? No. We must overcome that. We must rediscover our past, rediscover our glories. That will give us the sense of who we are, and that will give us the energy and drive to move forward with confidence and make this country a great country that we are doing it today. Now at the national level, efforts are on. Prime Minister is doing to rewrite the history of freedom movement, true history of freedom movement, by discovering the unsung freedom fighters. At our level, we must do it wherever we are. For this event, I once again thank, and I wish this book to be more and more circulated. I would urge all the schools and colleges, universities to have this book. Read, prescribe this book as a reference book for our students, and it should also be a book for all the think tanks, research institutions, wherever they are. It should be widely discussed and debated. And I think as far as universities are concerned, we will see, I will ensure that this book becomes a subject of book talks in every college in coming months. I will ensure that. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you once again.